Hi, I'm Vanessa from Ellie and Mac, and welcome back to my sewing room. Today, what we're going to do is take a look at the Marieke and Leonie. If you ever wondered what the difference is, I'm going to show you today. Plus, I'm going to add on some hacks that'll make you love them even more. Before we get started with what we're doing today, can we just take a moment and celebrate Diana coming back over the summer? Oh, I am so excited. When she told me, I was just so excited to have her back. When she left, I was very terrified because I was really new still. And she's like, don't worry, we kind of look alike. No one's going to notice. You guys noticed, probably because I said, hi, I'm Vanessa every single week. But she's back and we can take a deep breath and be happy. And so in celebration of her return, I decided that we could take two dresses that kind of look similar but are very different. So we're going to take the Marieke Wrap Dress as well as the Leonie Wrap Dress. And we are going to take a look at the differences, and then I'm going to show you some of my favorite hacks that I like to do, because these dresses are going to be perfect for fall transition. Talking about fall style, flowers are still in. So I actually chose two floral fabrics that I was gonna use during summer, but they're still in my stash. So I decided to use them today. And I have to tell you, these are two of my favorite fabrics. One is a burnt velvet fabric that has blue and tan flowers, and then my other one is a cotton silk blend with orange blossoms, and it's so nice and breezy and flowy that it's going to be perfect for this little gathered hack around the front that I'm going to be doing. So it's going to be perfect. These are going to be both beautiful dresses that will get you the fall transitions that you are looking for. So let's get to the cutting table. So up first is the Marieke, and let's just talk about this pattern. It is such a versatile pattern. You can use woven or stretch fabric, so it works perfect for this velvet that only has two-way stretch, and it's just a really great pattern with the gathered sleeves. Today I am going to be adding the sleeves as well as doing the little longer cut. So here's the sleeves right here, and then I'm going to start by doing my ties first so they're nice and completed, even top stitched. And then it's going to be time to assemble the shoulders. So I'm just laying right sides together, and I'm going to sew across the shoulders. Now with this fabric, it is really darling, but it does give off a little grandma couch, which I am totally into. And here I'm adding on the sleeves. So there's no gather at the top of the sleeves. And then this is where you add on your tie as well, because we are going to be sewing up the side seams as well as the arms. So it's a long stitch on the sides, but it's going to get our dress almost completed. So here I'm just using my serger again, just to go along from, again, the bottom all the way through the arms. And this is what my dress looks like so far. Now I'm going to be doing an elastic on the edge instead of doing the snap closure. So normally you'd add the snap right there, but instead I'm going to be doing elastic and a button, and then this is the other strap, and I'm just going to be clipping in here. I'm going to be basting on the elastic as well as the strap, and then this is my second hack, is adding in elastic through the neckband. If you're somebody who gets nervous about wearing wrapped dresses, this is a great hack to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to stay and you feel comfortable all day long. And so I'm just going to be this is some swim elastic that I got for free from Boho with my last order, so I don't want to waste it. So I'm doing about a 10% elastic. Any 1/4 inch elastic would work. You could even use leftover face mask elastic. And so right here, you're just giving it a light pull, and you're going all the way from where you have the loop all the way to the other tie across the neckline. Now I'm going to make sure that this button lines up with that elastic on the same line, and then I'm going to be adding the button. So this is exactly where you'd be adding in the snaps, but because if you don't have a great snap kit like I do, you might not want to ruin this beautiful fabric. So the button and elastic works great in this. So don't let that deter you from making this pattern if you don't have one of those kits. You can easily do this. And this is a button that I had in my random buttons. So I'm using one up, and that always makes me feel so happy. Now after I get my button put on, we are going to be finishing this dress up. So I'll show you how this looks first. The elastic goes right over the button, and then you can wrap the dress like normal. And you can see how that elastic is holding in when you tie it around the chest line. And so now it's time to finish it up. This is a rolled hem all the way across, or all the way around this whole dress. And I'm just rolling in the serge and the elastic so I can get a beautiful finished edge. Now, this is where my needle broke, and that third piece went right into my neck. So I took a little time off. And then here I'm adding the sleeve. This is a beautiful gathered sleeve that is right around the wrist. And this is how beautiful the dress turned out. I love these quick sews that have such a great reward. This fabric is so beautiful. I cannot believe how perfect it goes with this. It's going to be perfect for fall. Now, I have to tell you, I was reading about what the fall trends are, and they were saying knee-high stockings. I'm not for sure if I'm actually sold on this, but I decided to give it a try with this one. Up next is the Leonie, and this dress is made for wovens, and as you can see, it has beautiful back darts in the back and breathtaking sleeves, as well as a gorgeous gather along the bottom. You can make this into a top or into a wrapped dress, and it has different length options as well. Now, to add the ruffle onto the front of the bust, I actually cut another left ruffle and right ruffle meant for the bottom, but I'm going to actually use these to go along the bust. Now this is, you can see how I have the right sides marked, the right side of the garment marked to my right side, gathering my strips for around my bust line. Now I have a 2.4 gather, and you can see it's really close and really lovely. This is because this fabric is so easy to gather and it's working really well. So on my left side, I'm actually going to have this gather shorter. So I have it measured down 9 inches, and I'm going to mark it with chalk. Now because my hair is so long, I'm not going to bring it around the back, or this extra fabric here would go around the back of my neck. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing, gathering it onto the right side. Now, I don't like to use pattern fabrics because it's so hard to see what side is the right, but I actually have the outside fabric down on the dress as well as on the ruffle. So I know it's very difficult to see with pattern fabric. That's normally why I do solid fabric, so you can tell easier. And then I'm going to be just sewing on the gather. Now this gather, once you serge it on, I'm rounding out the corners right here, but it's going to flip over with right sides together onto the dress. And then what the pattern says to add binding around the whole neckline. So I'm actually going to take that binding from the left side, and I'm going to bring it down to where the ties are supposed to attach. Now I left my binding long, and I'll show you why a little later, but once you get your binding attached to the front side of your garment at the 1/4 inch, it's going to fold around, and you're not actually going to see it. It's going to be a detail that's going to be hidden along the back side. There is a full tutorial at Ellie and Mac's YouTube channel, as you know, as well as detailed instructions to help you get through all of these fun little details. And I have to tell you, this is such an enjoyable sew. I love these long sews. I can take a little extra time and increase my abilities with my sewing. So this is definitely one of those areas. So this is a first look of how this gather is going to go. And as you can see, I did finish up those edges around my gather, and you can see it flipped over. This is going to be so beautiful. I'm already getting very excited. And this is how the binding is looking along the edge right after the gather. And you can see how I left it long. I'm going to show you how I finished this all up. Now you can have the gather coming around the back of your neck, but because my hair is so long, it always looks funny. So I'm actually going to do the binding around the neckline as well, and make sure that this is nice and finished. So I'm just going to sew on the binding just like I did at a 1/4 inch, but this is a rounded edge. So you need to make sure that you're snipping along that outside edge. The view that you're seeing is the inside fabric, and then I'm going to be rolling that binding over onto the inside fabric. And on the outside, you actually won't see this purple at all. It'll be completely hidden. So after you get it nice and ironed down, you're just going to take it back to your sewing machine, and you're going to be top stitching it. And here you can see what it looks like completed. Now from here, we already have the gathered attached to the front and the back, and so we're going to just be adding on those shoulder seams. Now what I love about having the binding in the back is that I can actually fold that gather in and make sure that it doesn't fly up during my day. So I actually do like to do it this way because it attaches that in. So again, you just fold your gather in and then have right sides together, and you're going to clip along the shoulder seams. And I'm going to just be sewing this after I've serged both of those serges across the edges. So I have finished edges on the inside as well. And then once I get done sewing both sides of this, you can see how nice the finished edges look on the outside as well as what they look like on the inside after I cut off all my threads. This is definitely a sew where you're going to have lots of threads because there's so many beautiful details all the way around it. Now after I get done, I'm going to be serging the sides of my dress. And this is just so I can sew them together. Again, this is a woven pattern, so you're going to be using your sewing machine and doing the seam allowance here. So this is with right sides together. I'm just sewing down my side seams. And here I'm going to show you how I quickly sew up my sleeves. So after serging down the sides of my sleeves, I'm going to be sewing them together, and then I'm going to be ironing them flat. And here I'm doing the gather stitch along the top and along the wrist. Now this is the binding that goes along the wrist, and I think it's so beautiful. And so you're going to be taking your strips from your wrist and you're just going to be ironing them into quarters and then sewing them on with that along the line that your iron made. So this is going to be opening it up, and then you're going to be sewing on that first iron line. And then once you get that sewn on, you're just going to be following it, and then you can easily fold it over, creating that binding. So it's just a binding around the sleeves, and this is attaching on the arm sleeves. Now I'm going to be attaching on the straps. So I'm going to have both straps on here, but this is the one where I'm going to have the gather starting a little lower. So I'm going to actually take this binding all the way to the gather. So you're just going to snip it a 1/4 inch, and then I sew it on the right side of my fabric along that iron line. And then you just top stitch it in place. And after this, I just added on my gathers along the bottom. And with the final gathers, I am all done, and I almost got ate by a dog. Now, the dog just appreciated my beautiful dress. After a little pet, everything was fine. This dress is worth the near-death experience. No, I'm just kidding. The dog is right. This is a beautiful dress, and I'm very grateful that he agreed with me. I love how the fabric and the pattern worked so well together. These gathers look like they are just floating in air. Now, I love both of these wrap dresses. I feel like both offer something different, and I have both of them in my closet. I probably have 4 of the Marieke, and I have now 3 of the Leonie. These are just dresses that you feel good in. They fit your body, and you just want to show them off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. A like, a subscribe would be amazing.